Hey, what's up, friends? Grant Bolden here. Welcome back to the Speak Loud podcast. So good to have you here today. I'm super excited about the conversation here with Missy West, and she's been absolutely killing it in her speaking business. And that doesn't just magically happen. This girl is a incredibly hard worker and has busted her butt behind the scenes to build the kind of business that she has now. So we're going to be digging into that, talking about that. So, Missy, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. This is really an exciting, I get nervous before my talks, but this might be the most nerves that I've had in a long time.
No, no,
So,
no. Knock it off. You're fine. This is easy compared to a real gig. Okay. So first of all, why don't you kind of set the stage for us because we're going to talk about your background and kind of how you got to this point, but kind of give us a picture of like where you're at today. You had just mentioned like you're speaking full time. Like how many gigs is that? Who are you speaking to? What are you speaking about? Kind of paint the picture of what today looks
yeah,
like for you.
so gosh, I probably this last year I probably spoke over 50 times. Um I'm on this journey that I never thought I would be on, to be completely honest with you. I grew up as an athlete. Sports has been in my life my entire of existence, and
Yeah.
I am petrified to speak in public in front of a group of people. I don't have a basketball in my hand, so I grew up in upstate New York. I was a three-sport athlete, went and played at Duke University, graduated from there, played professionally, became a college coach for 12 years, and then ended up getting really sick, had a autoimmune disease that I was diagnosed with, and it kind of changed the trajectory of my life, really. And in July 2nd of 2017, I was inducted into the National High School Hall of Fame. And this was when I was transitioning out of coaching, trying to get myself healthy again. And I got up on stage that night. They asked me to give the induction speech. And this is where Duke, I think, is a blessing, but it's also a curse. So I get up on so they asked me to give the induction speech. I wanted to say no, the imposter syndrome, the fear, all of that. I was like, I'm inducted with these
Yeah.
Olympic gold medalists, these World Series champions. Why would you want, Missy West to get up there and give this induction speech? And, I call it my resilience team. I went to my resilience team. I say, I have this opportunity to get up on stage to give this talk, and I'm scared to death to do it. And they said, Missy, everything that you've done in your life didn't happen without tremendous fear, insecurity, self-doubt, sometimes lack of confidence. The difference with you is that you get up there and you do it anyway. And so I got
Mm.
up there, gave that 11-minute speech, and that 11-minute speech opened the door to a lot more opportunities. And, there's a lot more to that story that followed. But it was actually, this past year, I went through your course in 2022. Went through it fully, worked with Ravi in the VIP program. I didn't know how to build a business. I didn't know the whole speaking thing was really foreign to me. Like I said, it wasn't my cup of tea. I was scared to death to do it. But I went through your course and things just started to really fall into place. And I think one of the things you
Mm.
continue to talk about is like just literally putting one foot in front of the other and doing the work. And I was willing to do that. And so I probably spoke over 50 times last year, made six figures within my first
Come on now.
year, and did everything that was uncomfortable for me to do. And I just
Yeah.
stuck to being uncomfortable. Like I have to get through this being uncomfortable, being up on stage. That was, normally my stage was the basketball court. My new stage was the actual being on stage. And so I did the work. There's a lot of things that I did in between there to build up to where I am now. Um, but another little short story is back in June of 2022. I was invited. So I spoke at this National High School Athletic Hall of Fame. I came off stage to a standing ovation, that 11-minute talk, and people were like, wow, that was really impressive. Got a few opportunities from that. But again, I didn't want to speak. I was scared to do it. I was like, it took everything to get up on stage in that moment. And people just started putting little pieces in my brain, like, you can do this, like, you're good at this. And then in June of
Mm.
2022, I was invited to a large athletic conference. Flew out there, was a closing keynote speaker, gave this talk about Title IX and what sports has done for me
Mm.
in my life. And I came off stage, and the main marketing guy came up to me and he's like, "What are you doing now?" And I said, "I don't know. I'm trying to figure out my next career path, what I'm doing." And he says, "You need to be doing this." And he
Wow.
said, we just had a professional athlete. I'm not going to mention her name, but we had a professional athlete here. She came and spoke for 20 minutes. She made $20,000. We didn't learn anything. She's like, what you
Mm.
bring to the stage is so impactful, so powerful. And the first thing he said is, you will never charge the amount that you charged me in speaking again. He's like, your message is too
Wow.
powerful. And so that was kind of the message that I needed to hear to come to you and to go through the speakers lab to
Yeah.
finally say, okay, I have something here. People are seeing something in me that I don't see in myself. But I don't know how. And I talk to students all the time. One of the hardest and bravest things that we can do is ask for help when we don't know.
Mm.
And it was really the first time where I invested in myself in something other than sports and went through your course, learned how to build the business, taking it baby step after baby step and just doing the work. And voila, here I am, all over the
That's crazy.
country doing some really cool things, speaking to groups that I never, I started in athletics and we can talk about that, but I'm now speaking. I just had a talk out in San Diego spoke to over 3,000 gynecological oncologists. Scared to death,
Wow.
total full of fear, got up on stage, walked off another standing ovation. So things are starting to happen, and the impact to me is the most important, and it's just been a
Yeah.
powerful experience.
That's amazing. All right, you covered a
Yes,
lot
I
here. Let's
did. I
unpack this
did. Sorry.
because I'm just like, okay, there's so much here I want to dig into. So first of all, let's go back in time. You mentioned like your background was primarily in basketball. You played at Duke. What was that like? Like, did you get to meet Coach K?
Yes, of course. Actually, when I got to spend quite a bit of time with him because my end of my freshman year, was injured. I went through 3 knee surgeries, and he was going through his back operations during that time. And so we did a lot of physical therapy
Mm-hmm.
together. So I got to, meet Coach K, spend some time with him a little bit on a personal note. And yeah, it was an amazing experience. Sports certainly helps prepare us for life ahead. And that's what it did for me. It gave
Yeah.
me those resilient moments that I needed to be able to overcome the hard things that my future held for me. So it was great.
So like I mean, for most athletes, even playing on a high, collegiate level, like there's probably not going to be some type of professional, avenue here. So, what were you studying in school? Like, what was the plan at that point? Were you planning on naturally going into coaching, or that just kind of evolved to that?
No,
What was the next step
so
for you?
it all happens. When I became injured, we can either I could either sit there and feel sorry for myself, or I could find new ways to contribute to the team. And one of the things that I did was I really started to pay attention to why coach. I was coached by Gail Gestencourt. She was an incredible coach, taught me so much about life. But I spent a lot of time just next to her learning and growing the game. And I was like, oh my gosh, I love the strategy. I love all of these things that I didn't really know about. Like I knew how to play the game. I didn't necessarily know how to coach the game. And standing next to her through
Yeah.
my injury and learning why she did what she did, that's what kind of drove me into the coaching, the coaching aspect of things. But I just forgot your original question. Uh,
Yeah. So you are all right. So from there, you got into
yes,
coaching, and you got kind of an excitement, passion about coaching. Sounds like you did that for another decade or
12 years.
so on the collegiate level. So why'd you get out of coaching? Because it sounded like you had a successful playing career, but then also a successful coaching career.
Yeah, coaching was a lot of fun. I got to the point, first of all, I became ill. I was diagnosed with a really rare autoimmune disease that was really, really scary. And so, I'm a very competitive person. I gave everything to my work, and it literally consumed me. And so I was like, I really need to take care of myself. But there's always a piece of me, Grant, that wanted to know who Missy West was without athletics. Like, who am I? I mean,
Mm,
I considered myself that's who I was as an athlete, but there's so much more to us.
yeah.
We're not just one, dimension, we're multidimensional. And I wanted to figure out who that was. And so I stepped away with no plan, stepped away, and I got married and just decided to commit to my health and to getting better. And it just so happened that a few months following that was my induction into the Hall of Fame. And I got up on stage and scared to death and gave that talk. And people started saying, Missy, what are you doing? you have a message here. You need to be speaking, you need to be inspiring, you need to be impacting. And when I left coaching, the hard part for me was I love building relationships. I loved the relationships that I had with my players. And so I knew whatever I wanted to do next, it had to be something where I was impacting and helping kind of young people grow and develop. And people just kept, like, I had these small little speaking opportunities that really I didn't charge anything. I would do them for free and just kind of show up. I had no clue, Grant, what I was doing at all, just
Yeah.
rambling about nothing. Didn't have necessarily a plan, but people just wanted to, because of my athletic success, it gave me these opportunities. People wanted to hear from me and hear some of my story. And so, but I never took it seriously, and
Yeah. But it sounds like, I mean, it sounds like there's a couple of those kind of like catalyst moments for you. One was having that autoimmune disease just causes you to kind of question
yep.
everything of like, what am I doing with my life? And then, like you said, kind of I don't know if it was because of the autoimmune disease or apart from that, of just going like, my whole life has been around basketball and what is life without, because at some point basketball is going to end. And so what is my life beyond that, and kind of thinking through that, maybe cutting off or getting ahead of that potential, future identity crisis, but then also being invited to do the speech at the Hall of Fame induction. And so when you were invited to do that, because it sounds like, again, you're at that point terrified of speaking.
Oh yeah.
And so why do you think, did they have all inductees speak? Was this just you? Like, why do you think they ask you? Because it's kind of one of those things where it's like, there's no logical reason necessarily for them to. So like I was doing a lot of speaking, and they're like, "Oh, we should have Missy do it." Like, why do you think they ask you?
I don't know. Other than I think this is where I said the Duke degree is a blessing, but it's also a curse because you graduated from
Uh-huh.
Duke and you can, just do it all. And
Ah, you went to
yes,
Duke.
and
Yeah, big ACC school. Yeah, you're
no, but
fine.
there was 11 inductees. I was one of those 11, and the president reached out to me, sent me an email, and said, "Congratulations. You must be so proud. We would love for you to give the induction speech." There was nothing prior to that. I mean,
Yeah,
and it wasn't even that I really had a lot of the connections. And I immediately, Grant, and I think, we talk about imposter syndrome a lot, and you do in your course, and how to overcome that. It was immediate. Like, I was almost angry that this president asked me to give this talk because because of the fear that I had. I think with coaching,
yeah,
players, when coaches see potential in athletes that they don't see in themselves, they get angry when they ask you to step out of your comfort zone. And this was like, it was being put on me. And that's why when I've learned not to respond when I'm in an emotional state to emails or text messages or social media. So I went and
yeah.
talked to different people, and I'm like, there was a part of me that wanted to do it. But there was also another part of me that felt like I wasn't worthy of the opportunity, which is something that
Mm.
speaking has helped me overcome over time: my self-worth, my value. Um, and at the time, I was just like, no. And my resilience team reminded me, no, like, this is just a different stage, and everything that you've accomplished happened because you leaned into those tough moments when you were scared and you showed up anyway. And one of the things that I talk about, my whole talk is about crushing the inner critic, because it's clearly the one thing that I struggle with, that I have struggled with my entire life. I'm my biggest critic. If I back even a year ago, if I would talk to others how I used to talk to myself, I wouldn't have any friends, right? I mean, I was just brutal on myself. And and so one of the things that I talk about is, I talk about developing mantras. One of my speaking mantras before I get up on stage is closing my eyes for 5 seconds, 10 seconds, and just saying, fear. I feel the fear. I know it's there. It means it's go time. It's time to show up. And so I
Hmm.
wear this shirt that says, fear means it's go time. And,
Mm.
because we have this fear of failure, fear of embarrassment, fear of falling flat on our face, forgetting all of our words, whatever it is, we all kind of experience these things, maybe not on stage, maybe it's going into a meeting, maybe it's walking out or running out in the court, whatever it is, we feel these. But I think we grow in life, we develop in life, we become who we truly are when we lean into that fear. And we say, you know what? I could fall flat on my face. I'm not going to die from it, but I
Yeah.
can lean in and just see what happens. And I've done this in my speaking, being scared, talking about nonsense on stage, going off. I don't even know when I leave the stage early on, I was like, I don't even know what I said. Like was
Yeah.
sweaty, the blotches all over me, like just an anxious, nervous wreck. And I just, fear means it's go time. And I have it written up. I have a little note actually on my screen here that I use. It says, fear means it's go
Yeah.
time. I have things up here. This is from your course. Another student said, when I had that self doubt, tell yourself I'm a hot shot. Like I have all of these
Mm.
things, these mental reminders that I'm capable, that I can do it. That fear doesn't mean no, that I stop. Fear means I lean in and I do. And it's created this business that I have.
Do you ever think about like what would have happened if you hadn't done that speech?
Yes. I really don't know where. Yes, because I didn't necessarily have a plan. The other thing that I was doing, I had this thing called Beyond the Game Academy where I was, it was kind of, I don't like to call it a basketball camp because I think it was more than a camp, but I was teaching kids about the mindset, the inner critic, leadership concepts in the classroom. And then the other half of the day, we were doing skill work. I knew I wanted to get away from skill work. I was all about the mindset. I'm fascinated about how the mind works, how it controls the body, the whole thing. And so I was kind of dabbling in that in the background. Like I had little things. I was doing a little bit of consulting. I was talking to kids about recruiting, consulting parents with that. But I had no plan. Like I didn't have a business. I didn't, like I have Orca Leadership now, which is really my speaking business where
Yeah.
I have a business partner that I work with that we do different speaking events together. We actually speak together now, which is really cool.
Okay.
Um, but I didn't have a plan, and so I really don't know um, what I would be doing. Something I can't sit around. It's not.
Yeah. The you mentioned a couple times like the resilience team. Can you speak a little bit more to like who is that? How did they fit in? Are they still a part of your world? Because it's not just for you. It sounds like it's kind of a like there's some real structure to it. But the reality is like for all of us, even if we don't have like a name for that team, whatever that may be, we all need those cheerleaders in our corner who may believe in us more than we believe in ourselves. So like, who are those people? What does that look like for you?
Yeah. So again, this is something that I talk about in my presentations is building your resilience team because sometimes we don't have the tools or the courage to do things that we really want to do, and we need to surround ourselves with people. I say that not necessarily tell us what we want to hear, but they tell us what we need to hear. And I
Yeah.
was told that day on July 2nd, when I received that email, you need to do this. The potential is in you. You've spoken before, maybe not at this level, maybe not in front of 1,000 people, but it's in you. And my resilience team are my mentors, my family. My family sees things in me that I don't see in myself. It's my teammates from Duke they
Mm.
remind me of resilience moments that I went through in college, things that I overcame. I really struggled in school. School was always really hard for me. People didn't think I'd make it at Duke, that I wasn't going to be academically successful enough. And the whole thing, I end on the president's list. Like I have all of these little resilient moments, but because I've had people when I didn't believe in myself, they say, no, you got this. And I talk to people all the time, the quote, you can lead the horse to water, but you can't make them drink it. So I need
Yeah.
people to lead me to the water. I need that support system. I need that help. And when it comes to the speakers lab, one of the things about how I've been able to grow my business and kind of continue to get these speaking gigs is those Tuesday calls that we have, I still join them certainly to learn and to grow and to, I get little nuggets here and there of how to, but
Yeah.
I get on there to learn about the new people and to network and to find teammates. And one of those teammates, and you've had her on your podcast, that I work really closely with, we talk every week, is Anne Marie Anderson. She's the
Yeah.
Emmy Award winner sports broadcast. She talks about audacity. She has a book coming out in January. She speaks at conferences similar to me. I speak at an event, I recommend her. She speaks at an event, she recommends me. We call, we talk about negotiating contracts. We talk about all of like the business things. What do you think about this? What do you think? And she's part of my resilience team because I will, sell myself short on a negotiation. She'd be like, no, miss, remember what this you did here? Like, we need to step up.
Yeah.
It's time for us to step up. It's time for you to lean in. And I've met a lot of people through the speakers lab in building, adding to my resilience team. And
Mm.
now what's happening is people are seeing my work and what I'm doing, and they're like, how did you do that? Like, how are you doing what you're doing? Every time I look on social media, you're speaking at another place. And I say, I went through the speakers lab. I have, I build this resilience team that is helping me develop this. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm literally taking baby steps and taking 10 steps back. And it's like, brush myself off. I'm going for it. Um, but I have these
Yeah.
people, this support system. And our young people need to have a resilience team, those mentors, whether it be a single teacher or, our, people that are older, my age. We need people, and we choose those people. We choose our resilience team, you know.
You mentioned the uh, doing that first Hall of Fame induction speech, but then it sounds like shortly after you did another speech. How did that one come about? Because it also seemed like that was really also kind of another catalyst of going like, okay, I've done two now that I didn't die and they went okay. And I got really good feedback and I got standing ovations. And it starts to like one thing we talk about internally within the Speaker Lab is our mission is we want to give speakers clarity, confidence, and a clear path to make an impact. And so one of those keys is confidence. And so a lot of people are like, I would love to do this. I'm kind of intrigued by this, but like, who am I? And that, again, like you talked about kind of the imposter syndrome and the mental internal struggles. And so when you do it a couple of times, you start to build some of the confidence. You don't feel like, I'm the best or I'm the worst, but like there's something there that starts to build some confidence. Like, no, I'm bringing something to the table here. So how did that second gig come about? And then after that, it sounds like that things really started to come into place in your mind of like, maybe this could be a thing. Like this wasn't ever on my radar, but maybe this could be. So could you speak a little bit more to like, what was that second event like and how did that kind of propel things forward?
Yeah. So it was actually, when I was inducted to the National High School Athletic Hall of Fame, it was the same, the same conference group. So it was the same
Okay.
committee, same. And so they saw my induction speech, which
Okay.
offered me this next opportunity. We'd love for you to come in. And, in between that, like I said, I've, for probably, gosh, minus the 2 years of the pandemic, 5 years outside of that, I've been dabbling, right? Doing these little mini talks where I was clueless. I remember like I did it for free. I think my first paid experience, I asked for $750 and I almost threw up because I was like,
Yeah.
no, like, I'm not worth 750. Now I'm like, Missy, you're crazy, right? So,
No kidding.
but it was so there was, that's how that second talk came. And I want
Yeah.
to, if I can, talk about confidence a little bit here, because this is another part of what I talk about is people think, and I think even the new speakers, they think when I get confidence, then I will get up on stage. Right? When
Yeah.
I build my talk fully, completely, then I will
Yeah.
take the next step. I look at confidence as a skill. I don't look at it as like this emotional feeling like you have it first and then things happen. No, you actually build confidence by taking action. So
Yeah.
I got up on stage when I had no confidence, Zippo, scared, like, sweating through everything. Like I was petrified. I didn't feel worthy. Like all of the things that we feel we're not good enough. Like I don't have a
Yeah.
good enough story to share. I don't know what I'm talking about. I still got up there anyway and didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know the end result, and I think when we focus on the end result, we don't take the steps that we need because it could end in a catastrophe. Talk about thinking traps, that one of the fortune teller predicting that the outcome is going to be bad before we even show up and try. Um,
Yeah.
but I think if you want to become a speaker, it's stepping up on stage even when you're scared. And if you fall flat on your face, you get up on the next stage. And then you get up on the next stage. And you start to watch people in the audience, how they're responding. You use that not as a personal attack, you use that as just feedback, right? I need to shift this. It's nothing personal. It's all learning and growing and just leaning into that fear. And over time, I still am not super confident. Like I have grown. I've definitely probably increased it by at least 50%. I have a long ways to go before I feel like I'm a rock star on stage. But because I just keep doing what scares me over and over again, I have grown my confidence. But people can get you to the stage. They can't get you to walk up on the stage and actually do the work on stage, right? So
Yeah.
I think, again, I talk to everyone that I speak to about confidence, because you don't have confidence first and then do. You do, and then there's confidence. Um,
It sounds like after that second gig is again when wheels started spinning for you of like maybe this is a thing. And so kind of going back to that, it seems like you could have done that second gig. It could have gone well, and you could have been like, this is a fun thing to do from time to time, you know. And kind of this is the case with a lot of speakers of going like, I've done some speaking, and how did I get those gigs? I waited for like word of mouth. I waited for some random invite to hit my inbox, and I went and did it, and it was really fun, and I would love to do more of it. And so now I just sit and wait for the next thing to, magically come along. And so what shifted for you to go like, hey, actually, I think I could do this on maybe a full-time basis, and maybe do this on a bigger scale. And I think I could, I could charge something for this, maybe charge enough to make a living from this. So how did you make the mental shift from this is kind of fun to this could be my career, this could be a business, and this could be something that like, let's start taking this more serious. It's kind of like even going back to the basketball thing. It's almost like you can play pickup games here and there with some friends and be like, this is kind of fun. It's another thing to be like, actually, I think I'm good enough here that I could play this on a high collegiate
mhm.
level, or a professional level, or coach at a higher level. So like, what was the mental shift for you there of like, I want to give this a shot, and see if I can make it as a professional speaker.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you when. It's the trigger that went off was the chief marketing officer after that second talk. When I walked off stage, he said, "What are you doing with your life?" And I said, "I really don't know." And he said, "You need to be doing this." And he talked to me
Wow.
about that professional athlete who made $20,000 giving a 20-minute talk that said nothing. I got up there for 45 minutes, shared personal stories and tools, and he said, "You need to be doing this and you need to be charging more," because I didn't charge hardly
Yeah.
anything because I didn't know what the heck I was doing. So he was really the person, my resilience team member, that said, kind of in his own way, he didn't say it's time to do this, but he's like, you need to be doing this. And then it was me saying, okay, I've had multiple people come up and, sprinkle these moments of courage into me. And it's like, okay, I still don't know what I'm doing, but I am ready and committed to take the steps. And that was finding you, because I knew nothing about the Speakers Lab. I never even heard about it until I came home from that in June of 2022. I signed up with a Speakers Lab in August of 2022. So it took 2 months of me kind of researching, asking a lot of questions, going to people that I knew that were speaking. How did you do it? And actually, Cletus Coffee, who went through your program back in 2017, I work for the Positive Coaching Alliance as well. It's a nonprofit organization on character and leadership, and he's a part of that. And he was
Yeah.
doing some speaking. I just said, "Well, how do you do this? How are you building your business with him?" He's like, "I went through the Speakers Lab," and so I started googling it, looking it up, asking your team a lot of questions, starting listening podcast, like different things like that. And I was like, okay, because it's a big investment, and I've never
Yeah.
invested that amount of money on myself since I've,
Yeah.
really I haven't. And so I was just like, no, I am going all in. And there was something on the inside of me that says, I know that I can do this. I don't know how to do it, but if I can surround myself with the right people that can give me the baby steps of how to get there, then I'm willing to do the work, and that was a moment.
Well, you mentioned there. like it was the biggest investment you've ever made in your career at that time. And you know, there I always remind speakers of like, uh, you don't have to do anything with us. You know, like we have a free podcast, we have a good book out there. Like there's a lot of resources out there. Like you mentioned, like I've got friends who are speakers. I could just pick their brain. So why, with the other alternatives that are out there that you could kind of pick and choose from, like why did you decide to invest something with the Speaker Lab?
I love the individual attention. So as I mentioned earlier, I went through the VIP program. Ravi was my coach. I loved that I could pick up my phone on Voxer and be like,
Yeah.
I'm about to have this go through this deal. I'm about to talk to this person. They're asking me X, Y, and Z. Can you give me some can you give me some information back
Yeah.
to kind of just, get my thoughts right? And it was like, I mean, I was amazed about the coaching. I didn't want to be in a, I mean, I didn't mind being in a big group and going through the elite program, but I personally, for me, wanted individual attention, smaller groups, 7 or 8, um, and really, have that attention. And so I was willing to invest the additional cost to be in that program, and it paid off. Gosh, multiply it by how much I made 6 figures in my first year, full year of speaking following that investment. But that was really it. What sold me was the amount of coaching calls that you offer throughout the program, the individual attention from the VIP program, having that Voxer on stamp, like I could literally in the moment, didn't matter what time. I even reached out to Eric at times, and bam, it was just like immediate feedback, and that gave me confidence. It's like they gave me the
Mm,
language, the words, how to, and then go and do the work. You know,
yeah.
I don't have all the words in the language of how to, at the time, how to negotiate a contract. Like I know how to recruit a kid and get him into my program, which is similar. I learned after the fact, but all of those things, that was really, really powerful for me. And that's what kind of,
And and so for context here, again, I want to just make sure I understand correctly. We're talking 2 years ago at the time of this recording. 2 years ago, I've done one or two free speaking gigs. And in the past 12 months, or even you said in your first year, a year later after going through the program, you did 6 figures in speaking gigs. This past year, you did over 50 speaking gigs and 6 figures. That's
yeah.
crazy. You know, like that's just insane. So you like kudos to you, because like one thing we tell speakers all the time is like, hey, listen, we can tell you what to do. It's kind of like a coaching basketball. I would assume like I can come up with the drills, I can come up with the plays, but like you're on the court, you have to do it. You got to show up in the weight room. You got to put in the extra reps. You got to run that extra drill. Like you got to put the extra shots up. And like the people, there's a difference between like the players that make it and the players that don't. And a lot of it is just like doesn't matter how good the coach is, like the player still has to do the
Mhm.
thing. And so kudos to you because like you're putting in the work. So I guess the question I would have for you is what do you think makes a difference between, someone like you who, hey, I took this seriously, whether you went through our stuff or not, and you made it as a speaker and are continuing to make it and build and grow a very, very successful business. And then there's plenty of speakers out there who are listening who have like, I've always dreamed about this. I've wanted to do this. And I'm just not getting the momentum or the traction. Like, what's the difference there? Like, why do you feel like you have had the success that you've had?
Well, first, there's multiple reasons why. I think first is, um, I when I went through your program and started creating the abstract and everything, and I think at one point, it was 2 years ago, so we had to put together a list of contact people that we know that could possibly help us. Like if we go and share our message of what we're going to speak on, they could possibly, help us. So I created that list. When I first became a professional speaker after I went through your course,
Yeah.
how it all started rolling was I went back to the people that I knew. So I literally called a family friend who is an athletic director. So I speak a lot in the education world, 7th through 12th graders. That's where I started. That was my specific audience. And then,
Yeah.
student athletes, and then that involved to coaches, and then that involved to athletic directors, and then that involved to where I'm in the corporate space a little bit, dabbling there in the health space.
Yeah.
But I stayed I was focused on crushing the inner critic. That was my talk. That's like people, we talk in leadership. No, I talk on crushing the inner critic. I can dabble in the leadership part, but I stayed very focused
Yeah.
in that one topic. I stayed very focused on my audience. I went to that athletic director and I said, I didn't have a talk planned. I had my abstract that I worked with Ravi with. I had my abstract and I said, I really want to start speaking in schools. I want to talk about crushing the inner critic. I think we all struggle with our negative self-talk, leaning into our fear, building resilience, all of those things. And, I need stages to speak on. And this is
Yeah.
the impact that I want to have. I'm missing it in coaching. I can have it on the stage here. I just went through a course. I shared with him, like I was very honest and open.
Yeah.
I said, would you be willing if I gave you a brochure, if I gave you, it was literally a sheet of paper, if I gave you my abstract and
Yeah.
a brochure and gave you a little bit of history of who I am, would you bring that to your next athletic directors meeting and share it with the other athletic directors?
Yeah.
He's like, absolutely, miss. I mean, whatever, I'd totally help you out. So I sent him all the information. I was very detailed, but very simple, nothing complicated, easy. Bullet points. He took it to his athletic directors. Right from there, I started to get a couple calls. But I was really hoping, like, you're like, man, I hope everybody calls you. Like, the hope,
Yeah.
no, I got like two. But I got two opportunities. One was on
Totally.
Zoom, speaking to a whole section of coaches. The second one was actually at a school. And so I went to the school and spoke and did really well. And then I spoke to other people that I knew. This is what I'm willing to talk about. We are willing to take my information, go and share with other people. So I just made all these random
Yeah.
calls to people that I knew, and just had at the beginning just a few opportunities, and it just started like I built my business basically through referrals. Like I know I do spend time prospecting, but I work really
Yeah.
hard to be really good on stage, to really be about them and not me. So I'll share a story, always connecting it back to the audience. Um, I think that's really important. I'm very authentic. I just am who I am, and I get up on stage and I speak from my heart, and it connects with a lot of people, and people are out there just kind of sharing this, and I'm getting calls that I just never. It's not that I'm going after them, they are starting, but it started with going back to the people that I knew without having to talk, just an idea of what I wanted to talk about. And that would be
Yeah.
one thing that for new speakers is go out there, certainly develop your abstract, know what you want to talk about. You don't need to have the perfect story and all the stuff. Then go out there and get a speaking opportunity first. Maybe you book it 3 months out and you say, okay, I have 3 months to get this talk. When you actually get and you sign the contract for the opportunity,
Yeah.
you're going to do the work. At least I hope
Totally.
you, or you're going to fail miserably, right? But I did that. Like, so I didn't have the talk and all the things, and I'm still growing my talk, still crush the inner critic. I don't have it all perfect, but each time I grow it, I get a little bit better. I ask for feedback. I constantly ask for feedback. Give me the dirt. What can I be better? What sat? What didn't? I'm very open to learning and growing. I don't take it personal. I mean, there's times where I knew I completely blew it, but it's
Yeah.
all just, those are all, like I said, I've learned to learn from those moments.
Yeah.
But certainly how I grew my business was going back to the people that I knew, working my butt off to connect with the audience. Like I need to know about them. I need to know about what the school struggles with, what the kids are struggling with, and that's, I think there was, I think I heard it from your program, but people buy from you when they feel understood, not when they understand you. Right. And
That's
so
good.
even like when you're trying to get opportunities, you have to make it about them. And
Yeah.
it always has to stay about them. Certainly you share your stories, but it's got to come back to who they are, what problems you can solve for them. Being authentic, constantly working to build relationships. So where my referrals came from is when I finish a talk, I don't just run out of there. I will go up and hug every kid. I will go and,
Yeah.
I've even had to hug teachers and, they're crying and you touch me, you're speaking directly to me. I say I'll never leave a school until the last person walks out of the auditorium, right? I always make
Yeah.
sure that, and I think that's a big part. They're like, oh, you're a real human. Like you've accomplished all these things, you've been super successful, but you have broken pieces. Like you hurt, you have anxiety, you have fears, and I connect with you. And doing that
Yeah.
for their people, but also doing this for the event planners, being there for them. Like I just had yesterday, actually just had an opportunity. Person from New Hampshire reached out to me and put together a proposal, sent it to her, and she's like, "You are way out of our league. We love everything about you, but we can't do it." And I said, "Okay, no problem. Let's figure out how we can make this work." So I said, "Can you? It's at a women's leadership event. Can you? I can speak at this women's leadership event. We can do a workshop. Do you think you can tie me into speaking at 2 or 3 other high schools in the nearby area a few days before to make up the difference of the cost? So give me a few
Yeah.
schools. I can still speak, and they were like, we've never had a speaker come back and say they were willing to work with us. That like typically they
Yeah.
either say no, like can't afford us. Okay, then they move on. But I think that says like, as I'm growing and building my business, and when you're growing and building your business, it is being able to work with people. Certainly your cost might go down a little bit. You might not get the exact amount, but what is the end result of that? I know going and
Yeah.
speaking at this New Hampshire event, there's going to be a lot of people in the audience where it's going to result in more, opportunities. And so there's a benefit to that.
Hey, you're doing something right to go from $0 to making six figures. So kudos there. All right, last question here. How's your game now? Do you feel like you could beat me in horse? I'm just
Yes, I
putting it out
can.
there. Okay, all
I
right.
know that with confidence, Grant.
I have a ton of confidence that you could beat
You
me
can beat
in
me in
horse. It's been
pickleball. I know
so
you play pickleball. So.
okay. Pickleball. I played a couple hours this morning though, so I got my workout there. All right, let's wrap up with that. Missy, thank you so much for the time. Hey, kudos to you because again, like we talked about, we can tell you what to do, but you've got to do the work. You have done the work. You've earned the results that you have, and so super proud of you. Super impressed. You're absolutely killing it. If people want to find out more about you and what you're up to, where can we find you
Yeah,
online?
my website is themissywest.com. My Instagram is at MissWest25. And that's really the two places where I spend most of my time. So going to my website would be fantastic. I also have another website with my business partner, Orca Leadership. That's the name of my speaking company. And that is
Okay,
orcaleadership.com.
cool, awesome, Missy. Thanks for the time. We appreciate
Absolutely.
it.
Thanks, Grant.